Hello, friends, and thank you for joining me here at Non-Toxic Home. I am delighted that you have decided to join me today. Today, we're talking about the spiritual significance of radio frequencies. Now, radio frequencies are emitted by items such as anything that connects to the Internet of Things. If you have a smart anything, it's emitting RFs or radio frequencies. If you have a cell phone, pager, not that anyone has a pager today, if you have a smart TV, if you live near a cell phone tower, radar emits radio frequencies. These satellites, the 5G satellites that are suspended up in the air that are not that far up there, just open your eyes and look. They are also not orbiting clearly. It's just look. More lies. All of these things emit radio frequencies. And these are just some examples, but Bluetooth, Fitbits, the list goes on and on and on as to what emits radio frequencies. Now, they cause great harm. They cause great harm to human beings. And this has been clearly studied as far as mast cell activation syndrome goes. We know that radio frequencies cause mast cell degranulation events. Now, a mast cell degranulation event can happen in someone who is not diagnosed or exhibiting symptoms of a mast cell activation disorder. They are not required to go hand in hand. And the reason why I say this is because many people exhibit heart attack symptoms or have strokes after having a smart meter installed on their house, for example, or after a 5G tower goes up, or they start using a cell phone inside their house or have Wi-Fi in their house for the first time. All of these sorts of things can occur in people who are not otherwise known to be sensitive. All right, this is important to understand. However, the harm is not just in mast cells, friends, which, by the way, mast cells are in every organ of your body, and when they are caused to trigger or degranulate, those chemicals that they dump out go everywhere in your body. So you can have a symptom in any organ or system of your body and it be caused by a mast cell degranulation event. However, of course, there's carcinogenic events and other issues that correlate directly and, quite frankly, are caused by radio frequencies. But what we're talking about today is more of the spiritual significance of them. Now, if you care about nature, then you care probably about animals. Now, radio frequencies harms animals as well. The same thing with plants. Just look at trees that are by cell towers. We actually, after one of the launches last year, had our strawberry beds completely fried overnight as a result of the launch. Unbelievable. I didn't know that could happen. We're a ways away from the satellites, but of course, microwave radiation has been demonstrated to be able to go 144 miles. Now, when rockets are launched straight up into the sky, if you watch the videos on YouTube, by people who launch rockets, they only get 73 or 74 miles up. So we know that microwave radiation is able to be targeted and received here on Earth from the satellites, however high up they are, but we know they're not orbiting and we know they're not out in space because we have eyes and we can look up and we can see them and we can watch them at night, friends. At least we can here. And many other people who don't live in highly densely populated areas are able to as well, who can see the stars at night. The mass proliferation of radio frequencies has great spiritual significance for multiple reasons. For one, if you go to 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. Actually, let's go back to verse 10. Let's read 10 and 11. To whom ye forgive anything, I forgive also. For if I forgave anything, to whom I forgave it, for your sakes forgave I it in the person of Christ. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us. For we are not ignorant of his devices. Now, when I first read that, I thought it meant devices as far as methods. We're not ignorant of Satan's methods, his methods of attack. And that could be interpreted to be the case. But then I took devices and I looked for the definition online, which I probably should have done for this video, but I didn't. Go me, I'm awesome. All right, so I looked, and devices doesn't mean that anywhere that I could find. Now, it could have been that I was looking at the wrong dictionary translation. But when I looked up devices, I couldn't find, and I looked in various dictionaries online, I couldn't find anything that said that devices meant methods or anything but electronics, devices, cell phones, TVs, tablets, computers. Isn't that interesting? Now, like I said, I could have missed a dictionary entry somewhere where it did say that it meant methods, but that's not what I found. Take that as you may. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. We know that Satan has devices, and if you just think critically about the cell phone, oh my goodness, friends. For one, besides the biologic harm and the harm on nature, animals, everything, cell phones are basically slave devices. Now, the specific reinforcement schedule, couldn't think of the phrase, couldn't think of the term, the specific reinforcement schedule that cell phones use is utilized by casinos. So it is intended to cause an addiction. So this is why there's so many people who are addicted, because Satan intended for them to be addicted. Now, what I find very interesting with cell phones is that everyone's always looking down when we are commanded by Jesus to look up, to watch, and pray for your redemption draws near. It doesn't say look down at your slave device. People just become so obsessed with their work, with the trappings of this life, with Instagram and Facebook and Maui and Minds. Just all of the social media is also addictive, has the same reinforcement schedule, friends. If you're a student of psychology, then you know this as well. So it's intended to be addictive. Even if you don't have an addictive personality, causes an addiction. It makes you think about it all the time. It makes you freak out if you misplace your cell phone. Just look at how people react if they can't find their cell phone. They completely lose their minds. Now, when I was growing up as a kid, cell phones weren't a thing. If we went anywhere, our parents knew where we were going. And if we were late, then we called from our friend's house to tell our parents we would be late. If we wanted to stay the night at our friend's house, then we called from our friend's landline and asked to stay the night. It was very simple. And honestly, if we were at the movies and we locked our keys in our car, which I would never, ever, 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 ever do, there were landline phones that you could go put a quarter in and call your parents and tell them what you did because you're awesome. So cell phones are not necessary for modern life at all. At the same time, my husband and I do have each a cell phone. In these days, my husband does everything curbside pickup because everybody wants you to wear a mask, and he's not going to do that. And rightly so. Besides the fact that he can't breathe in them, of course, there's great spiritual significance to all of this, and he knows the truth. Once you know the truth, that's it. You don't follow after everybody else. You don't follow the world. Now, of course, there are instances in which a sound mind is important to have here, such as if you have a compound fracture, you need to go to the ER. And you need to do what you need to do so that you can get treated for that compound fracture. So a sound mind, of course, is important here. All right. So Satan's devices, back to that is distracting us. The cell phones distract us from what's actually real. We believe that what's happening on social media and on YouTube is real. We believe that the news is showing what's actually happening. I hope you don't believe that, but many believe that. Even though They've just been proven over and over to be lying liar faces. The reality that we are shown is not real. You've got programming, which is called programming because it's programming you. Those are devices. Now, it doesn't mean that it's not okay to watch some episodes of MacGyver now and then, because we like MacGyver, and we watch some various things in the evenings as we're getting ready for bed and relaxing, and that's okay. But you have to have a sound mind. You have to know what you're doing, what you're exposing yourself to, and you have to rely on Holy Spirit very much to know what's going on and to know when you need to just shut something off. Now, in 2 Corinthians 11:14, come on, can't get the page turned. All right, 11:14, where's it at? For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. It is absolutely critical that you understand that just because someone says that Jesus is Savior doesn't mean that they aren't a false prophet. There goes my rooster. He concurs. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. So of course there are going to be people who act like they are of God and that you think are Christian and that proclaim Christ as Lord, who are spoiling things for the rest of us and leading people to wickedness on the path of destruction. Because if Satan can disguise himself as an angel of light, an angel of good, then surely false prophets can seem to be good, don't you think? But another aspect of this passage, Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Now, this could be a stretch. I'm going to be the first to say that. All right, this could be a stretch. But one of the times when I read that passage, I thought of li-fi. Not Wi-Fi, but li-fi. Now, li-fi is just light Wi-Fi. All right, there's still radio frequencies that are emitted. It just uses lights to broadcast internet. And now, of course, if you consider just the etymology of the words World Wide Web, internet, they're catching all the information. They're catching all of our information. That's what the intention is. Now, of course, God turns wicked things into good. He turns evil into good. He uses it for his purposes. Just as hopefully this video and other videos and articles that we post are of benefit to you, and this video hopefully helps further his kingdom. That doesn't mean that everything about a device is bad, all right? But please don't use a cell phone. Cell phones imprison you. They imprison your mind. They really make you think in a box, even more so than just society in general does. When you ditch your cell phone and you realize that there is no box, like there's no box to break down because there is no box. So a lot of times people talk about how my husband and I think outside of the box. We don't have a box. There is no box to think of. The problem is that we're told that there's a box and we believe there's a box. But once you see the truth, you know that there is no box. You're not thinking outside the box because it doesn't exist. Now, this passage about Satan being an angel of light, broadband is supposed to be light and glass. I have a video in which I prove, without a doubt, that broadband isn't just light and glass. It can hurt you. It can harm you. It emits radio frequencies. There's a broadband installation that we have here. This will be uploaded via broadband. And when it was first installed along the road, it was so-called dark. It was not in use. There wasn't supposed to be anything running on it for over a year. Actually, 2 years, but it wasn't a year until I finally got somebody to do something about it. But there are strong radio frequencies emitted from it because it was installed improperly up there. Now, if there's nothing running on that line, there should not have been anything emitting from it, right? Now, even in theory, when you consider broadband and you read about the technology and you talk to the so-called experts, they will tell you it's just light and glass. There can't possibly be any harm from it. You can't be hurt from a broadband installation. Yet so many of us EHS canaries have gotten sick from broadband installations. My rooster is hollering over there. Sorry about that if that's irritating. And I will upload that video eventually to prove there are radio frequencies emitting from it, friends. Now, it is functional right now, but even so, in the cold, it seems that the connections loosen and radio frequencies get out of there, friends. It shouldn't be possible, but that's just another indication that what we're told is a lie. That what industries tell us is true is a lie. Of course, we're told that radio frequencies can't go, or microwave frequencies can't emit more than what, a city block or two, which is an absolute and utter lie. I'll drop a link below to that. Absolute lie. Besides the fact that Exceed did a test and they went 144 miles. All right. Very clear. The Li-Fi, or whether it's from lights or whether it's from broadband, that's light. It's supposed to just be light. But it's radio frequencies. It's harmful. Period. So, if Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light, maybe Satan is partly just in that light. What do you think? Like I said, it could be a stretch, but that's what I think. All right, Ephesians 2:2. Wherein in time past you walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. So the spirit that we're talking about works in the children of disobedience. Who are disobedient? People who are following Satan. The prince of the power of the air. Satan. I'm sure you're familiar with this verse. Now, Wi-Fi and radio frequencies in general travel where? In the air. And if you consider televisions, where do those get the content from? They get the content through the air, it used to be antennas. Now it's often satellite, sometimes it's cable, so that's obviously not through the air. But still, TV companies, CBS, NBC, ABC, all of the local networks still broadcast over the air. And if you consider just how rampant the lies are in programming, hello program, they're programming you. It's really quite clear, don't you think? Satan disguises himself as an angel of light, and he's the prince of the power of the air. Beware of Satan and his device. We know about Satan and his devices. So should you throw your cell phone and your TV and your computer and everything away? No. Because, like I said, God turns all things for good. How is it good for the radio frequencies to harm us long term? I don't know for sure. But if you consider the spiritual significance of the surveillance state, radio frequencies are pretty important as far as that goes, because they permit for the surveillance. And surveillance will be necessary when it comes to the enactment of the Noahide laws. I have a video up on the Noahide laws if you're not sure what I'm talking about here. And by the way, thank you to our friend here on YouTube who commented and said that natural law is also referred to as Noahide laws. I had not heard that. I looked into it and it's true. So natural law, same thing as Noahide law. Ooh, wow. I had no idea, but absolutely true. Thank you for commenting with that. I appreciate when information is shared that we don't know. The fact of the matter is that radio frequencies are known to cause harm. Satan wants to hurt us, obviously. He wants to control us as well. The targeted individuals situation, that topic can get heated, and I don't even understand why, because I'll drop a link below, but the evidence is so apparent. I don't understand why anyone would say that targeted individuals are just insane, because that's obviously not the case. Politicians are controlled, and I have a link to this video of a DARPA consultant who is exceedingly qualified discussing this topic and garnering consent for it. I don't understand how anyone could disagree with all of the evidence that is just seemingly insurmountable, that targeted individuals, that's a real thing. Right now, it's a relatively limited population as far as this video goes. And there are a lot of people who are targeted and don't even know it, I'm sure, because they are so brainwashed by what we're told. And the truth is that our emotions and our thoughts can be impacted by radio frequencies. Different frequencies elicit different emotions, and there were various situations over time in which the U.S. military has utilized basically implanting thoughts in people's heads for their own purposes. I don't remember what country it was. I want to say it was Iraq, but please correct me if you know what I'm talking about here, where the U.S. basically made people think thoughts were from Allah, and obviously they weren't. So wicked, isn't it? The U.S. is just so wicked. This world is just so wicked and so wrong. So that's another way that radio frequencies are used and have great spiritual significance. But when it comes to the surveillance state, when it comes to the enactment of the Noahide laws and the true rapture, which will be being delivered up through kings and councils and leaders and being called upon for a testimony and then going to meet your maker, then they need to know who's a true believer and who's not. Of course, there will be people rounded up who are not true believers, but they'll just be, I don't even know, maybe truthers. Who knows? And we have no idea when this will happen, and we don't know how it will happen. It's also possible that they will use 5G satellites to just stop our hearts. I don't like to say these things. But this is something that's important to know and understand if you're a believer, that these are the times that we are living in. It's not scary now to know that our crown is coming soon. We were never promised an easy path. We were told that we'll be hated because the world hates Jesus. If the world hates Jesus, they should hate you too in general, right? So those are just some things to consider. Also, when you get later on in the book of Revelation, you have the mark of the beast that comes up, and that requires the surveillance state as well. God will have some people that he preserves supernaturally throughout craziness that's going forth on earth, but it's not going to be easy for them, no doubt. He will protect them however he sees fit. It says in the Bible that he will seal us. So if you have the seal of God, you can't get any other seals because you are sealed by God. So those who get Satan's seal aren't sealed by God. And also part of Satan's seal that is essential that most people forget is the worship. I hope this has offered some information as to the spiritual significance of radio frequencies, as it does indeed have great significance in these latter days. Not just the harm that it causes, but what we know will happen based on prophecy. Thanks so much for being here, friends. Please give me a like, share, subscribe, and be sure to sign up for a weekly newsletter so you don't miss new posts over on the website. Thanks for being here, friends. Have a beautiful and blessed day.